What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to this end of season preview, celebration, kit launch, whatever you want to call it. We will have a little bit of everything on this podcast. As always, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Mr. Jack Gill. Jack, how are you?
Mate, it's been some week for me. It has been some week for me. I've finished uni, I've bagged myself a job, and the Reds are just fucking boss, aren't they? So, yeah, I've had about 1 hour sleep. I've had several drinks in the last
You look like you've had 1 hour sleep. I won't lie.
Oh, great to be young again.
And listen, I can't. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Steve, as a man who needs 8 hours like myself, how are you?
Oh, the last time I got 8 hours was before I had what is now a 5-year-old. Yeah, that's a distant memory. But yeah, I'm good. I've had more than an hour, so I'm a bit bit brighter than Mr. Gill. But then I'm 40 years old, so I can't take that sort of thing anymore.
I had my first beer of the day at 8 a.m. this morning.
Oh, goodness me.
Good man. Was that your first beer of this day or the last beer of the day before? Let's be honest, Jack. Which one was it?
Now you're chugging Monster.
My last beer from the day before was...
Steve would be in an ambulance right now.
Mate, one of those cans of Monster would put me in an ambulance.
My last beer from the day before was, I think I had a rum and coke at 5:30 this morning. Then I got into bed at 6:30 and had a beer at 8. So there you go.
Hey, look, it might. You know what? It might actually make your predictions more plausible. Like, who knows?
I'll tell you what, I'm having a panic attack just looking at him drinking the can. Oh, gents. Anyway, look. Speaking of things that have strange colorings to them and strange viewing figures, let's have a little talk about the home shirt, because I know that I seem to be in the minority on this podcast with regards to my views on the shirt. We'll start with the youngster up there, the whippersnapper, Mr. Gill. I mean, explain to me why you think red, orange, and green is a good combination, Jack. I'm all ears.
It's just a shirt, isn't it? Like I remember when I was younger, I used to really be into football shirts. It would be a huge thing for me.
I was younger.
You can't get too much younger.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just a top, and I'll probably still buy it, even if it was shite, even if it had shit all over it, I'd probably still buy it. I'm confident that we're going to win the quadruple in this shirt. So, listen, could be better. Yeah. Could we have white instead of the orange? Yeah, that would be nicer, but we're going to win the quadruple in it, so it's calm.
There you go, Steve. Any coherent answer from yourself?
You know what? I actually quite like it. And I get why people probably think, yeah, white might be a bit nicer, but I'm all good with it. And I also really like the look of what we think the away and the third are going to be, like the yellow and red. Our two other kits should always be a white-ish number and a yellow and red number, always. I think so. Yeah, I'm good with it. Looks good.
Ronald McDonald designed the away one, didn't he?
That's the nicest one of the whole lot. The pinstripe.
Yeah, I like
one.
it. You know what though, Jack's in his whatever kind of state he's in is actually correct though. In that, like, we get very energized about shirts, don't we, at the start of the season when they first come out, and then we quickly forget. I haven't heard a single. Before the season started, people were going on about the back of the collar on this current one and the funny tealy kind of color, green, whatever they call it, and then the season starts and you just sort of don't care about it anymore, do you? So yeah, I'm good.
The goalkeeper kit's a weird one. It
looks
like
you mean Creeper Keeper? Because it looks like Creeper from
Minecraft. It looks like a creeper's cock.
Yeah, it's Creeper Keeper. That's what it is.
Our keeper should always be in green, though. I'm a big believer in green for our goal. Going back to what when Craig and I were growing up, my first my first football watching memories were Bruce Grobbelaar in his green top. And I think our goalkeeper should always be in green.
I agree.
Definitely.
I would go as far, and we are live, by the way. I see somebody asking in the chat, are we live or is it pre-recorded? We will be doing questions at the end of the pod, guys, but we are live as things stand. Yeah, I'm old school like that as well, Steve. I think the keeper shirt green, and for Ireland international should be yellow for the goalkeeper shirt. That's my first two shirts were that green. Well, my first goalkeeper shirts were the green one you're talking about there with Bruce Grobler, and then Patty Bonner's yellow one, of course, after we've gone to Romania.
What a goalkeeper.
Oh, what a sight, that World Cup. Like, Timofte steps up against Bonner. Not a hope in hell was he beating the big Donegal legend.
Beautiful.
Look, it is one that I will say probably will appeal to the younger person out there, like Jack's generation. You know the way usually when a kit comes out, Jack, you have an explanation from the manufacturer as to what it's in ode to or what it gives a little nod to, and I don't understand if there's any rhyme or reason to why we're suddenly Roma's B team.
Oh, no. There was an explanation. Did you not see the explanation, Craig? From what I saw, it was something to do with a blind man designing it. That's what I saw anyway.
It's I don't know, lads. I mean, these things always look better in person. I will say that, and I will reserve judgment until I see it. And look, it's one thing looking at Virgil van Dijk, but I ain't no Van Dijk.
That's a good point though, Craig, because the pictures we've been seeing over the past few weeks of like the supposed like leaks and so on, it looks miles better when you see the players wearing it in the photo shoots and the videos and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm good with it. Looks good. It's a bit different, isn't it? I don't mind being a bit different.
Yeah, again, I'd like to see the entire kit tied together and see how it looks on the pitch. But as long as it has a Champions League badge and the arm of a gentleman, I'm going to be all good with whatever it is. And it looks like, Steve, it is in our own hands, mate.
Well, yeah, let's not get carried away because, we've had, like I said last week, we've had dreams dashed by Crystal Palace before, haven't we? So
let's
nobody
not get carried away. I won't tell you what the next topic we're talking about is.
Well, it starts with M and ends in E, doesn't it?
It certainly does, my man.
Oh my word! I'm looking at like the messages coming in, and like every other one is about Mbappe.
I won't let you down, folks. Don't worry, I've got you covered.
I mean, it should be completely straightforward, shouldn't it? I remember a game, was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago? We played Middlesbrough, didn't we, on the last day, and we had to win to, get in the top four, and we did it that year. I'm pretty confident, but then, if this season has taught us anything, it's that anything can happen. And I think the really interesting games, though, the really interesting one for me is Chelsea away at Villa. I think there's a really good a really good chance, that could go either draw or Villa win, and then Leicester and Liverpool both win, and Chelsea could miss out. I think that for me is
probably. I don't know whether Jack was giving somebody head there or yawning. I don't know what was going on there for a second.
Oh dear. Yeah, so that's kind of where my money would go.
Tuchel, though. Someone needs to explain to Tuchel, Steve, that, he said they're at a disadvantage because Villa will have fans in. Somebody needs to explain to El Tomas there that he had fans inside Stamford Bridge the other day when they were playing Leicester.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to him, though, he's done a great job, hasn't he, since he came in? Because who would have seen Chelsea even been anywhere near it, at the kind of midpoint of the season? But no, look, we said on this podcast weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and I didn't think it would actually come true, but we said, Liverpool are probably the only team in and around that top four, top seven kind of area who could put 5 or 6 wins on the trot together, and all the other teams are very inconsistent. We knew Liverpool had the quality that if it kind of came together, they'd put those wins together. And actually, they've not played great, have they? The West Brom game wasn't great. The United game was good, but then Burnley was decent. Without being, Burnley was the sort of game that we were winning a lot last year, wasn't it? That was a very last year kind of game where we weren't great, had to withstand. The commentary was absolute nonsense, wasn't it? Carragher saying that Burnley deserved. At halftime deserves something out of the game, or does it?
I don't listen to it, mate. I'm busy. I'm busy giving my own masterclass of punditry.
Well, yeah, all they were doing was bombing it forward. I mean, if that's all you got to do to you deserve something out of the game, I think they should probably take Carra off Liverpool games because he's in a bit of a quandary, isn't he? Like, he doesn't really know which way to go. He has to fight his instinct a little bit. So anyway, yeah, I'm confident, but I'm nervous as well.
Burnley, Jack, was made for one man. You go to Burnley, there's going to be an area bombardment. You wheel out the big ammunition, and Nat Phillips did not let us down one bit at both ends of the pitch.
Said before, haven't I? Nat Phillips is probably the best defender I've ever seen in my life. I think he should have a statue built for him. I think we're talking about the Premier League Hall of Fame, and there's been a lot on this week. Gerrard being inducted to it, but as far as I'm concerned, Nat Phillips should be inducted to it because that man is he's incredible, isn't he? And we laugh and we joke. Listen, nobody could have seen what was going to happen this season. Nobody could have seen it at all. But if you really think about it, and opposition fans will admit it themselves, Nat Phillips has had a very, very good season. And there was talk from us Liverpool fans about cashing in and stuff like that. But actually, Nat Phillips is very good to have around because he's incredible in the air at both ends of the pitch. He was just fantastic against Burnley and fully deserved the Man of the Match award. If an asteroid was heading for Earth, the first man I would ring is Nat Phillips because he'd head that fucker right away.
I'll tell you what, the puns were magnificent, gentlemen. I mean, we had Nat King goal, we had Naldini, and we had the Bolton Berets. It was beautiful. I was enjoying them in the chat more than anything else.
Do you know what's a really good point, though? Somebody made on Sky, it was Redknapp, I think, made the point that if he was playing alongside Virgil van Dijk, it would elevate him to another couple of levels again because
it would elevate Virgil van Dijk.
Well, at the moment, like he's having to play, the senior role with Reece Williams, who's probably, well, definitely not, not at the point, not at that level yet, but he's doing a decent job. But Nat Phillips is winning me over. He's coming. I'm getting my head around him actually being more than just a sort of a cult. I'll head anything, get your body in the way of stuff. He's actually a good footballer, and he's doing a good job.
Hang on, winning you over. Well, you should see. Obviously, the wall behind me is plain, but the wall in front of me, all I've got is pictures of Nat Phillips.
I don't mean like winning me over, as in like I thought he was terrible. But if somebody had asked me, 3-4 weeks ago, would we sign? Would I have Konate and Kabak and let Phillips go? I'm probably like leaning towards get Konate in and keep Phillips over spending 18 million on Kabak at the moment.
I think that's the way it's got to go. And there was a picture, Connor put a picture up on our Instagram that summed everything up, and it was Allison in the opposition box with scoring the header with Nat Phillips just in front of him about to header it or trying to head it as well. And he said, imagine trying to explain this scenario to somebody last season.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have. There wouldn't have been a chance.
It's mad.
I think, in terms of Nat Phillips, I think he's got a good chance of the Ballon d'Or.
So what I'm hearing from you, Jack, is that we need some type of hybrid kind of statue of Nat Phillips and like maybe Siamese twin of Nat Phillips and Ragnar Klavan outside Anfield.
Well, the thing for me is I've nailed on. My mum's maiden name is Phillips, so I have decided this week that my first child I'm going to call Nathaniel Phillips. That will be his name. So
after Clooney.
Yeah, that is going to be my first.
Nathaniel Philip Gill.
Yeah,
Captain Phillips. Surely Nathaniel Captain Phillips.
Nathaniel Phillips Gill. I think that's the perfect name. And listen, whether it's a boy or a girl, it'll suit either way. So that's the plan. And as I say, Hall of Fame, build him a statue while you're at it as well. In fact, he'll probably do it himself.
Jack could be up on the King Kenny stand taking the letters down later on if we don't bring him in a little bit.
You know what? Cool. Rename the Anfield Road end the Nat Phillips end. Why not?
God, I don't want to say that I don't think he should be in the squad next season now.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because if if we do get top four, it'd be very hard to to get Nat Phillips in for pre-season or the end of this season and say, actually, Nat, you've done a great job, but thank you very much. It'd be very difficult to say that, wouldn't it?
Do we all agree that we're probably unlikely to see Kabak sign at this point?
Well, it looks very much that way, doesn't it? It looks, a lot of decent journalists are writing that. A lot of less decent journalists are writing it as well. But yeah, I just think, I really like Kabak. I really do. But Nat Phillips, we're talking about a fourth or fifth centre back here, aren't we? We're not talking about a guy that's going to play every game. We're talking about the fourth or fifth option, and probably Nat Phillips is a better fit for that option.
He's ticking all the boxes, isn't he? I mean, we often speak as fans about wanting coaches to improve players, and here we have a young man that's been in Stuttgart on loan, that was almost out the door in January, and yet Jurgen Klopp openly and rightly speaks about his story, Jack, and how he loves the improvement in Nat Phillips. And who's to say that he won't come on another step or two? I mean, honestly, in all sincerity, he's done himself no harm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I joked before, but honestly, the progression.
I thought you were being serious.
I mean, I'll say I'm joking for the benefit of the comments. But the thing is with Nat Phillips, his progression has been top class. Every game he seems to get better and he gets more comfortable. This is a guy who is still very young. He's not the youngest, but he's still very young. Before this season, he lacked any kind of Premier League experience, and he's just getting better and better. And he's played a really important role in this Liverpool side this season. And in a side where we've struggled at the back in terms of getting a consistent back line, a consistent centre back pairing, we've had a very inexperienced centre back pairing for the majority of the season, or we've played midfielders at the back. Phillips has come in and he's been a man that we can rely on. And as I say, he just seems to be getting better and better. And for me, he's a man that we have to keep around in the squad next season because he deserved it, he's earned it. But at the same time, then there may be something in the head of FSG who may think, well, actually, he's a player that is probably reaching his peak in terms of he probably won't get much better than this. What you see is what you get in Nat Phillips. He's very good early. And maybe this summer is a time where we could cash in on Nat Phillips for the most that we could probably get from him based on the season he's had this year. So there's definitely a decision to be had. But for me, why spend 18 million on Ozan Kabak when you've already got Phillips there? So yeah,
isn't it nice seeing an actual? Isn't it nice in this era when everyone loves these like Laporte, Van Dijk kind of ball playing centre halves, and he's a proper throwback, isn't he, to a guy that just heads it and tackles everything, kicks everything. It's not too pretty. He'll get caught out for pace occasionally, but I loved the clearance off the line, and then I loved the instinct to drop back onto the line that he had, and then I loved the answer to the question that there was no PR guff in that, was there? Like, he wasn't saying what he said to impress anyone. He was asked, goals, score a goal or clear one off the line straight away. Not even any thought. Definitely clear one off the line. So he's a like Jack says, if we say that, we need a situation, we want a situation where people are rewarded based on what they do. If they work hard in training, if they put the effort in, if their performances are good, they get rewarded. And he's absolutely deserved the right to be around next season. And I wouldn't have said that 2-3 weeks ago. But I think he deserves it.
I would agree. I think you can never have too many centre backs around. I think we've learned that this season. I think Klopp will give him pre-season. I mean, if Michael Edwards somehow manages to negotiate a £35 million to Bournemouth or something for Nat Phillips, then we might see it happen. But one name that's popped up this week that I have to say has taken me by surprise is a potential departure for Sadio Mane. I've got to say, this caught me off guard. Anybody want to pick this up and run with it? I mean, there's been links to Dortmund, and
it's a funny one, isn't it? He's probably been he's been really disappointed, hasn't he, this season? Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest about it. I think he's been way off the pace this season. And if you were picking, you're picking a front three out of the four we've got, you'd pick Salah and Jota straight away, and then it'd be a fight between Firmino and Mane to see who the third one was at the moment, because I think he's been well off, and goal scoring wise, he's well off. He created Nat Phillips's goal, didn't he? I'd be disappointed if he left, but I would understand it. If it was a massive bid for him at his age, he's 29, isn't he?
I think they're all 29, aren't they? Apart from John, I mean the three older boys.
Yeah,
that are there,
I think when players get to that age, you start to think about how much longer do they have, particularly a player like him. Firmino's a bit different, I think, but Mane and Salah are so reliant on their pace, that explosive pace, and over 30, it does drop off. That's human bodies, isn't it? And honestly, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Every other one is about Mbappe. It's ridiculous.
Oh, we're getting there. I'm building up to it. This is the foreplay. Don't worry about it. Jack, one thing that, and I think a couple of people in the chat have mentioned this as well, Jack, is, okay, it's all well and good us in here saying maybe he goes to Dortmund, but one, I don't think 70 million euro is enough to buy Sadio Mane, and two, would he buy into the project of going to Borussia Dortmund? I don't know. Is that the right step for him?
For me, the whole Mane situation, in terms of the stories in the media this week, there's one word for it, and that's bollocks. And I'm getting to the point where I'm sick of the transfer window, and it's not even open yet. So, it's going to be a long summer. But no, I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't want him to go anywhere. Has he had an off season?
What'd you take there? What'd you take? They're talking about 80, 90 million quid for Jadon Sancho. If he went to Dortmund for 70 or 80 million and you paid extra 10 and got Sancho back, a young, hungry British player, I don't think that would be the worst business in the world.
No.
It would be worth it just for the fume on the United fans' face, if nothing else.
I wouldn't take it because, as a good man once said, James Redmond, he's the best player in the world. And, we don't do if, buts and maybes here, Steve. We do absolutes. And, Sancho...
We don't do absolutes here.
No, look, hang on. Never mind what Pound Chop Me had to say. It's... I'm here now to give you the... No, look, James Redmond's class, by the way. I'm only joking. On this one, for me, look... Whatever we talk about here is going to lead back to Mbappe, because if we're talking about moving Mane on... And look, I've spoke to people who work with Nike at quite a high level. I've spoke to people who have pretty good contacts around, and it makes sense. I'm just going to put it out there, Steve.
The only one bit that doesn't make sense, and it's a really crucial bit of a transfer, is that
the money, but
it would cost about £200 million, and we're not going to pay it. That's
I don't think he would cost £200 million. That's where the wages. I'm with you on.
That's interesting though, because I was chatting to a mate earlier who's a United fan about Harry Kane, and he said, I don't think we'd pay the money, but I said this summer's going to be interesting because there's a few players that are going to be on the move, and it might just be that the selling clubs have to take lower bids because who's going to pay 150 million for Haaland? Who's going to pay 150 million for 28-year-old Harry Kane? Who's going to pay 200 million for Mbappe? And if these
players, where are you getting the 200 million from though? Because he's got 1 year left on his deal.
Mate, he is the most marketable player on the planet right now.
That's the ball in his court. That's not in PSG's court. They're up against the wall.
You see, this is the point, that if these players agitate for moves, which quite possibly they all will, and there's only a low number of clubs really, PSG, City, United, Liverpool, and the Spanish clubs, if they raid the piggy bank and raid the King of Spain's piggy bank, there aren't that many clubs that will pay that amount of money. So it might just be that if the players really agitate for a move, the clubs have to take a lower bid. And
he's got 1 year left. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's a poster boy for Nike. Nike wants to make a big splash with Liverpool. There's the whole LeBron James crossover as well. And I wonder, and look, I'm absolutely in agreement that this is all hypothetical and most likely improbable. But if you are going to sign Kylian Mbappe as any club, this is the summer to do it. You're not going to get him at this point anymore where he's got 1 year left on his deal because nobody would be stupid enough to let his deal run down. He still has a huge resale value 5-6 years down the line. FSG have an interest in him, having flown him around the Bay of Nice or wherever it was before he signed for PSG. There's the Nike crossover. There's the potential with the money that FSG have got from selling off 10% of FSG. And there is the COVID pandemic. Add to that the fact that we've heard Melissa Reddy and other journalists say that Liverpool were cutting their cloth accordingly in case the generational talent came on the books. And I'm putting 2 and 2 together here, and I might be coming up with 7, but I like 7. And at 7, he could wear that as well.
Every week, look at Jack. Jack will be keeping you awake, but
I'm just there's more chance of Craig growing hair than Mbappe coming to Liverpool. Honestly,
I can grow hair though. That's the thing. I could do the hair part if it means we get Mbappe.
I am a real boy. I am a real boy. No, I think Mbappe is a generational talent. He is. Well,
where's he going to go? Let's have this conversation. Where is he going to go?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because Madrid might be booting Zidane out, or he might leave. That's one of the main reasons why he wanted to go to Madrid, was to play under his idol, former French international, World Cup winner, absolute superstar, 3-time Champions League winner. They're managing Real Madrid. So, back-to-back Champions League winner as well. So, where's he going to go? This is the problem. You've touched on it, Steve. There's only 5 clubs in the world that can do the level of business for the Harry Kanes, the Mbappes, the Sanchos. And this summer, they're all on the table.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a bit of me that doesn't want to get on board this train because you just end up with some guy you never heard of from RB Leipzig or Salzburg or something, and if we get in the if we win on Sunday and we're in the Champions League,
choo-choo.
It's not, it's a darn sight more possible than it would have been if we didn't. I mean, without Champions League football, it's just zero chance, isn't there?
100% agree on that.
But with Champions League football, I was saying this to a mate the other day. Liverpool are going to be a real problem next year for people.
This is Jack having a breakdown live.
There's a comment there saying, should we strip Henderson of captaincy for Phillips? Sorry, that's
oh dear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, someone made a good point about I saw like a football money man once go into the concept of making someone transfer.
How's Jack getting more drunk drinking Monster, by the way? You're getting more drunk somehow the more Monster you drink.
I'm fine, mate. I'm just having a whale of a time. That's all.
They're gonna be up all night.
We should probably point out at this point, Steve, that we get a grant for having Jack on the podcast.
We're getting babysitting money, like £10 an hour. Yeah, I mean, look, who knows? I would be dancing in the streets if make a Michael Edwards statue as if we don't need one already. If he signed Kylian Mbappe, but
But where does he go then? Honestly, gents, where does he go? Because he doesn't look like he'll sign on a PSG.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Yeah, I can't see it. We won't change our entire wage structure for Kylian Mbappe. We won't. Listen,
we're going to be changing it though, Jack, because there's talk that already that Mohamed Salah and Fabinho or Van Dijk will be on 300-400 grand a week. That's already the talk of the wage structure going out the window.
Because but that's because they're fucking earning it. That's because of earning it. You know,
You're talking about a future multiple Ballon d'Or winner here. Somebody who's
Have you seen what somebody said here? Like the difference between Liverpool signing Mbappe or not is Roy Hodgson. You know, oh, so much.
It's right as well. That's the sad part.
So much is on Roy Hodgson this weekend. Honestly,
what we sound.
It's,
oh dear, oh dear.
See, what gets me is right. Normally we say this thing, you hear all this gobbledygook about shirt sales maybe paying for it, but in this case it could actually be true.
No. So I remember a few years ago we got someone on the BBC and they like a football finance expert and they said
was it Kieran Maguire by any chance?
Well, we see Kieran on quite a lot, but
he's very good.
Somebody else. Yeah, Kieran's brilliant. But it was somebody who said this notion that even Beckham levels of shirt sales do not come anywhere near to paying off a transfer fee. So it's but you know, undoubtedly there's massive commercial benefit to having Kylian Mbappe, isn't it? I mean, that's
him and Trent doing the celebration, lads. Come on.
Craig, every week you try and convince yourself every week. Oh,
I let go when I thought we were in the Europa League, Steve, but it's come back with a vengeance.
I've got 4 people here, so we can put that towards it.
Hey, we've got a Palace fan on the chat as well. Craig is poo-poo. You know, good to see they're coming in with some
pretty top level banter there. That is
intelligent banter, intelligent contributions.
And yeah, we don't have Benteke as a centre forward. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about levels of poo-poo here, then watch Christian poo-poo is waiting to Nat Phillips' back pocket on Sunday afternoon. It's look again though. He has to go somewhere. I'm just going to keep saying it because he does have to go somewhere, and I don't think Madrid can afford him.
Let's talk about a different one that I think that you talked down a bit is Yuri Tielemans, which I don't think will happen, but
I only talked down because
if it were to happen, I think he's ridiculously good. I think he's sensational.
I have no issues with Yuri Tielemans. I think there's better value out there, if I'm being honest, but with somebody who has certainly improved and is there to improve even further, I believe, with higher levels of coaching. And he would get that with Brendan Rodgers, to be fair. I'm not trying to run down Brendan Rodgers, but yeah, that's a position we 100% know with Gini move, and we're going to need somebody in. So whether that is Yuri Tielemans, whether that is a more attack-minded midfielder like Houssem Aouar, or whether that's Rodrigo de Paul, or whether that's the guy Neuhaus, I mean, I've heard nothing on this. Have you any hint that we might actually be in for Tielemans?
No, I haven't. No, I only saw it on just those kind of like spurious, Twitter pages that you see who claim to be claim to know what they're talking about.
I've been told Basuma is pretty much nailed on.
Oh yes, so, there you go, Jack. I tell you what, I watched Basuma a fair bit, and he just reminds me of Gini. Now, he just reminds me of Gini, honestly. I mean, the way he protects the ball, the way he looks a bit gangly at times in his movements, but the ball kind of has that moment or that Saka feel to him. Like the ball he looks like he's awkward, but he's not.
He's a top player. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I'd be all over that, Jack. I've got to say, mate, that would make me very happy indeed. I mean, Houssem Aouar as well, by the way. How is he only 22? How is he still only 22?
Yeah,
because he was born in 1998, Craig.
That's pretty much the exact answer Connor gave me.
I found that way prettier than it was. My bad.
That's actually what Connor said to me as well, to be fair. But yeah, he's had a bit of a mixed bag of a season. His name's being bandied around, 30-40 million quid. I mean, what do we see happening in the transfer market from our club this window? I mean, we'll get to outgoings, but with incomings, what do we need and what's realistic?
Well, I think we'll sign a couple of players and we'll sell a few more players. That's how I think our transfer window will go.
I think I'm gonna add to what Jack said, as insightful as it was. I don't want to see too many outgoings. I've said this before. I don't want to see people going, because we've seen with the value of a big squad this season, haven't we? So I'm not too fussed about people at Oxlade-Chamberlain. Origi and Shaqiri are different. I'm happy for them to go because I don't see I don't see them ever challenging for a proper first team place. Guys like Oxlade-Chamberlain, they hit a bit of form, and they justify being in that first team. And I think we need to keep people like him around. And he, that goal, great goal on the weekend, and he was really bright when he came on, wasn't he? So yeah, but I think obviously we're talking about a centre half. Probably not. Yeah, Kanate. I haven't heard anything different. Probably not two now. To one centre half, probably a centre midfielder, and probably a forward of some description. I'd rather
That's
have
where I struggle as well with the of some description part, because I'm thinking, is it a wide forward with pace? Is it a number 9?
I'd rather have a proper number 9. I don't mean as to replace Roberto Firmino, but I just mean as a different option, like a target man, like a proper number. Let's start the Harry Kane to Liverpool train. I'd take him.
It looks like Aguero, by the way, is about to sign for Barca from all the.
That was so obvious. That was so obvious. It's their last card playing to try and get Messi to stay, isn't it? Bring one of his good friends in, one of his good pals. So yeah, that was so obvious for me. I think it was very obvious Aguero was going to go to Barca. So it's going to be an interesting summer. I said, didn't I? I've said for quite a few months now, this summer's huge for this football club. There's a lot of talk of Harry Kane going to a rival.
City. I'd guess he's going to end up at City.
Yep. Haaland on the move. United are going to strengthen. Chelsea, it's going to be Tuchel's first window. There's been good signs from them already that they're going to be a team that probably pushes for the title next season. So it's a huge summer for us. It really, really is. And I just ask that, we talk about Mbappe and stuff like that, but I just hope we do sensible business this summer and make sure that we do improve, because, I've spoken a lot. We have one of, if not the best starting 11s when everyone is fit in world football, but it's about improving the squad now and making sure that we have a better squad by September after the Euros. So yeah, for me, a huge summer for this football club, and I hope that we do very sensible business.
Harry Kane's interesting, isn't he? Harry Kane's an interesting one. Sorry, Craig. Harry Kane's
It's as simple as that.
I was really surprised that when I saw him do that podcast with Gary Neville, like
he's working for City.
It's a really interesting one. He's talking about how good De Bruyne is. That there's no way the Tottenham media people authorize him to do that, because that would be ridiculous. So he's gone off his own, off on his own, and people only do that when they're pretty much
I like that he said. I'll decide when I leave as well. Did you notice that little bit, Steve, as well? Not Daniel Levy,
doesn't he? You know what, he deserves it. People like him actually do deserve, the chat. He's. I'm not. I don't think he's. I think he's very good. I don't think he's anywhere near in the same level as some of I'd take Haaland or Mbappe over him any day of the week. But he's a top player, isn't he? And he seems like a nice lad as well. And yeah, go on.
He's in middle class, and it's interesting because we know what Daniel Levy's like in terms of, he won't sell Kane on the cheap or anything like that.
Nor should he have to, by the way. He shouldn't have to sell him on the cheap either.
Absolutely not. But for Harry Kane as well, he's limited because he struggles to speak English, let alone learn another language. So he's very much limited. And for me, I either see a reunion with obviously Pochettino in PSG, or I see Man City throwing a lot of cash at him because they need one thing and one thing only this summer, and that is a number 9. And if you buy Harry Kane,
that's scary though, lads.
You guarantee yourself at least 20 goal a season striker, and in that City side, there'll be so much more. Records will be broken, and it is so scary. But
let me paint you a picture, gents. Harry Kane goes to Manchester City. United get, let's say, Sancho. Chelsea go out and get the forward they need, whether that be Haaland, Lukaku, whoever it might be. There's only one man that can come in and sort this mess out.
Choo-choo.
Monorail.
My word.
There's one there I want to throw into the mix, actually, and that's Bruno's replacement at Sporting Lisbon, Goncalves, or I don't know how you pronounce the gentleman's name, but he's been bandied around this week as well, and I haven't watched a minute of him. I won't lie. I don't know if you guys have.
He was at Wolves, wasn't he? He was at Wolves, played only League Cup game, I think, for Wolves, and he's gone back to Sporting, and his numbers are amazing. His numbers are sensational, and he's a really good age. Probably. Needs another year or two there maybe to, grow. He's only 21, 22, isn't he? He's a young kid still, but they'd be talking, you'd be talking massive money for him. It's interesting. I wonder, you asked the question last week. I wonder how much budgets are affected, by the Champions League. I wonder because, we were talking about Bissouma and Konate and one other, assuming that we wouldn't be in the Champions League. You chuck that into the mix as well. There could be another, extra 50, 100 million quid on the table as well. Then you could go, I'm not even going to let myself get too excited. It's
monorail.
I like Camavinga. People are saying Camavinga.
He's giving cushy jobs.
Our biggest signing of the summer will be Virgil van Dijk coming back to full fitness. That will be our biggest signing of the summer.
I'm a little bit worried about Gomez, I have to say. I mean, it's great that we're all getting these lads back, but I think we've all been given information about Gomez on the QT that we can't stand over, which is why we haven't mentioned it. But regardless of whether that information we've all been given is correct or not, it is worrying. I mean, it is worrying because at what point do you draw the line and say, okay, Joe Gomez, no doubt about his talent, no doubt about how good the guy is, but if we're going to need to challenge him four fronts, we need robust players.
There's a lot of conspiracies out there about what happened to Joe Gomez, isn't there? But if we believe what we heard, that was unopposed. Joe Gomez's knee just simply blew up. And when you hear a story like that about someone, then of course it's going to raise concerns, and of course, especially when it's a knee that he's had problems with before, it's going to be a long struggle for him, and maintaining full fitness is going to be very difficult for Joe Gomez, regardless of his age. So yeah, it is really worrying, and I think that's where the Konate talks come from, because we're going to need a world-class partner for Virgil van Dijk if Gomez is absent. And at the same time, as I keep saying, we've got 3 central defenders coming back from long-term injuries, so they're going to have to be managed perfectly. So yeah, it's very concerning, the Joe Gomez thing. And I remember after a podcast a few weeks ago, me telling you pair something that I'd heard, and since then, it's been shown that I chat absolute shite, because we've seen him in training, and he seems to be trying to at least on his first sort of steps to recovery. But will Joe Gomez be the same? Probably not. And that is really worrying, because he's a young lad that I thought was a class player, a top player, really, really underrated centre half.
Can't write him off just yet, though. I mean, people have come back from the injuries that he's got, and people have even come back from having multiple versions of what he's had to deal with. The worrying bit is, though, you're right. The worrying bit is that by all accounts, he was totally unopposed when he went, when it went down, and his knee just gave way, just buckled. Which is pretty worrying, isn't it? I'm sure.
And add into that, we've got Matip, who is made of polystyrene.
No, Matip for me, I think. I mean, I think we'll tell a lot by whether they do sign Kabak, because I'm sure they're bringing Konate in to play alongside Van Dijk. That's probably a given, and if they bring in one more, then it tells me that they don't. They're worried about Gomez or Matip. They're not going to bring in another top one if they have Matip as well and Gomez.
For me, I would keep Phillips. I would sell Matip. I would sign Kabak and Konate, and I would loan out Reece Williams. That's what.
Who buys? I agree with what you're saying, by the way. But who buys a Joel Matip that's just signed a new contract on what I can imagine would be very good wages, because he would have been a free transfer if he hadn't have signed that contract, So who's going to buy him and who's going to cover those wages? Are we going to end up in a situation where we were under Brendan Rodgers, where we've got players on high wages that we're paying to get off the books, Steve?
Yeah, but I think he fits into that. I think if someone like Joe Matip at his age, with how likable he seems to be and how well Klopp thinks of him, if it came to the point where he was 4th or 5th choice and was never playing, I reckon there'd be a gentleman's agreement. They would let him go. I wouldn't see that being a problem.
On this comment here, by the way, that somebody kindly put in about the shirt, Mutt said it's inspired by the 1964 season under which the Reds were under the management of Bill Shankly.
That have orange in it? Was there orange?
Oh yeah, was that the first time oranges came to England or something? I have no idea.
Oh dear, no. Who knows?
I think somebody was tripping balls on acid. Maybe
the phone company Orange was invented in 1964. So there you go.
That's Jack's Donald Trump alternative facts. Just a couple of other players I want to mention. A few of them have been in the chat. I want to talk about the possibility of Traore maybe leaving Wolves. Nuno moving on there. He's announced he's leaving at the end of the season. There's Alan Saint-Maximin as well, another name to throw in the hat. We haven't really discussed the Jadon Sancho to Liverpool links, possibly because I don't believe them, but
I think there's definitely interest. I think there's 100% interest from Liverpool. I think there is 100%.
I think there was a deal. I think there was a deal agreed last year that he'd go to United at the end of the season. I'm convinced. The amount of talk there was. I just can't see him going anywhere apart from Manchester United this summer. I really can't.
That's a good shout. Happy always, Jack Grealish. That's a great shout.
Oh, I would love Jack Grealish.
He fits. You know what? He fits in.
He's more realistic than Mbappe, if I'm being honest.
No. I think Jack Grealish fits in. He fits in either of the two centre midfield positions, like the 2 number 8s, or he fits in either side in the wide positions. I think he'd be.
How much does he cost? How much does he cost?
You know what? I think the issue with Jack Grealish is, these big clubs, they love doing their due diligence on the players off the pitch as well. I think all that COVID stuff, makes things like that make a big impact on people that spend a lot of money on footballers.
Also, I've been told stories about Jack Grealish from quite credible sources as well, in terms of, I'm not sure whether I can say it on here, but I think it's quite a known rumour in terms of, the English Premier League player that is addicted to sleeping pills, and apparently that's Jack Grealish.
I've got to say I've never heard even the sleeping pill story. I've again, my head might be up my backside, but I've no idea. I've got to say I've never even heard that there was a Premier League player addicted to sleeping pills. So I've honestly got no idea on it. What I would say is,
isn't it interesting though, having so many people that so many like really top players who are potentially on the move. It is so interesting because
that's what I'm saying. It's mad because there might have to be a bit of jiggery pokery here, a bit of player plus cash, we might see an absolutely strange window, or we could be sitting here completely underwhelmed at the end of the summer.
It's Sepp Vandenberg summer again. We're
going to be underwhelmed. We're Liverpool. Of course we are. I don't think it's going to be a summer that blows us all away. I don't think it will be. But I think we'll make sensible transfers and it will improve the squad. Yeah. Do I think we'll offload players like Shaqiri and Origi and Harry Wilson, players that, in my opinion, it's time to go, as our good friend Claude would have said. But yeah, for me, we'll make three or four signings, and then we'll get rid of a few players as well, and that'll be our summer. I don't think there'll be a particularly groundbreaking signing where we'll throw a shit ton of money at someone. Where you look at Mbappe, Sancho, a player of that caliber, I can't see that this summer.
I think we're fucked then. I'll be honest with you. I think we're screwed. I think if United go out there and do the business and get Sancho, and let's say City do the business and get Kane, and Chelsea do the business and get whoever their striker of choice is, whether it be Lukaku or Haaland or whoever it is, there's no way that we can compete without going out there and getting a marquee signing. I mean, I'm all for coaching the players that are there and, stuff like that. But we haven't improved their squad from this season, and I don't buy this. He'll be like a new sign and stuff that Klopp likes to bandy around every summer.
You're forgetting, mate. We've got Nat Phillips, and we'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid Nat Phillips was to pick up a little knock or anything like that. Then let's get back round to it. I mean, realistically, we need to improve, and we need to improve in a pretty strong way. And we've been, I think, very understanding as fans that football is a business, that we want to cut our cloth accordingly. But we've also generated an awful lot of money through very good commercial deals, through good positioning and finishing well in the league and the Champions League and player sales and stuff like that, Steve. So, if ever there was a summer to roll the dice in the financial aspect of this with whoever it might be, whether it be Sancho or whoever the club decide they want, I think it's the summer to go big.
And I think as well, chuck into that, that equation that we've got owners who are probably, fairly mindful of the fact that they haven't got a lot of credit in the bank at the moment, and need to do something that's going to get people excited again and get people on their side, and while I'm talking myself around while I'm watching people say what's in that kind of monster that Jack's drinking. But
that's the thing.
No, you're right. You are right though. You are right that if Chelsea, United, and City go big, then we don't have an option. Like, we have to. And I know we've done well over the last few years with signings maybe just below the top level that have ended up, Mane, Salah, they weren't necessarily world superstars and we got them. They are now. That you can't rely on doing that every year, can you? When expectations are high, you've got to get a player that will keep you at that level. And in our case,
act like a big club at some point. And look, we're renowned for bringing in players, as you said, on the cusp, or players who promise, like Torres and Suarez and Jota at this moment, and Salah. But there comes a time where we're competing against behemoths in the financial aspect. Like, we used to look at Real Madrid and Barcelona and maybe Juventus, but now the money's in the Premier League, and we have to, I think, understand that we're part of that money. Our club is. We're looking to improve the Annie Road End, increase capacity. I honestly think that this summer, I don't think we can accept an excuse if our rivals go out there and really strengthen. Now, I understand, of course, everybody is run differently with regards to the way the finances is. Some people have owners who are willing to write off losses. Some people want to cut their cloth according and spend what they have, and we seem to be in that market. But I don't think we can just keep expecting Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp to pull rabbits out of hats every single transfer window. I agree. I mean, especially with, like we said, our rivals, potentially going out big. Someone's going to sign Haaland this summer, aren't they? Somebody, I would think. Somebody's going to sign Harry Kane this summer. Probably someone's going to sign Lukaku, who's proving what a good player he actually is. Someone is probably going to sign Jadon Sancho. So, we've got to be in that mix, haven't we? We've got to be in there for these big players, and we've got to probably get one of them, because someone's going to sign Mbappe as well. Mate, I mean, you're getting me coming round to it, aren't you? I mean, it would just be somebody. That's what I'm saying. Somebody has to buy these players, and if they're all going to get the moves, and there seems to be an awful lot of world-class, top level players available this summer, it's very intriguing. I'm wondering if, and you made a good point, Steve, a minute ago as well, where you said that, look, not that the owners will feel like they have to placate the fans, but they do have a bit of making up to do, and they've made great steps with the Spirit of Shankly meeting and what's come from that meeting, which is brilliant. Well played all around, I think, on that one, especially to the guys, the Spirit of Shankly, what they've got the club to commit to there. But I just think, look, I'm all for signing the likes of Neto, Rafinha, or getting a good centre midfielder in, but it's very hard and very unpalatable as a football fan to see other clubs going out and acting like a big club, whether you see United maybe signing Kane or City signing Kane.
Yeah.
I just...
There's a lot of money knocking about in England at the moment, isn't there? I know we've had the pandemic and stuff, but this is a really good chance, not just for Liverpool, but for all the English clubs to really put their foot down, hasn't it? Because this Juve haven't got any money anymore. The Spanish clubs are broke. PSG, have a lot of money, but nobody wants to play in France. This is a really big chance to get some of these genuine superstars, because over the last 10 years, you had a lot of good players, but there aren't that many occasions when a genuine bona fide world superstar has come to our country as a superstar, is there? We've made them, but we haven't necessarily bought them in. And I think it's a really big chance. And like you say, we've got to be in that mix. Otherwise, next season is going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to sit here and say that Thiago is probably the most established superstar I can remember coming into Liverpool Football Club, but that cost 25 million.
You know what? He's been sensational the last few games, last 3 or 4 games. I'll be seeing him. Hopefully, seeing him in the morning.
Yeah. Just yeah. I don't want to go to football today, Daddy. You're going to football, Thiago.
Mate, I'm down there every week now. Freddie, yeah. If he comes, yeah, we'll see. Because it was his kid's first time down there last week, so they wear their own kit, and then after the first time, they get like an actual kit for the club. So he was wearing a Liverpool kit with 6 and his name on the back. Yeah, we'll see if he's wearing the proper, the black kit for this club tomorrow. Then we'll see. That means he's coming down more regularly.
There you go. Let's finish up the podcast with a few questions, ladies and gents. So whatever you guys want to put in the chat, we'll do our best to answer them and answer them as honestly as we can. And if there's anything we've forgotten to talk about, have at it. For you, Jack, any players that you'd like to see Liverpool go out there and get this summer realistically, or have we missed a name in the conversation that you've seen floating around?
There's several players I want to see Liverpool get this summer, but realistic is the key word that I'll take from what you've just said, Craig. And I think, as I said before, I think Basuma and Konate are pretty much dead set. And then you've got to look. We'll probably get a forward in as well. And for me, Patson Daka is the one that I expect Liverpool to get. Obviously, Haaland's replacement at Salzburg, a man who I think is a very good and cheap option for us.
Isn't he off to Leipzig? Somebody said.
What I'd read that he's going to follow Jesse Marsch in that proven pathway from Salzburg to Leipzig. Yeah, the manager that's going to replace Nagelsmann, but nothing's set in stone yet.
There's also Marlon, the young striker at PSV as well. I think he's another option potentially for us. Then there's the likes of Neto or Rafinha. That are potentially there too. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting window for us all at Liverpool Football Club, and hopefully it's a good one.
So, who signs Kane, gents? That's the first question.
I mean, when he started talking about Kevin De Bruyne, it just reeks of City, doesn't it? It just, I mean, like Jack said before, they've just got such a gaping hole in that position. I can't see anybody but Man City signing him.
Jack?
It's interesting. I personally think Kane will go to PSG. That's my opinion on Harry Kane. I think that Daniel Levy won't let him join another English club. It's as simple as that. We know what he's like, and we know how much of a loss Harry Kane will be for Spurs. And if he joins a rival of theirs, then it would be, huge. And I think City will try and go all out. I think we have to face City will either sign Kane or Haaland this summer. I think that's where they'll put their money. So, it's going to be interesting, but I can see a reunion for Harry Kane and Mauricio Pochettino.
Personally, I think he ends up in Manchester somewhere at one of the clubs. I think maybe you touched on this earlier, Jack. I get the feeling that Harry Kane wants to break Premier League records, and he wants to be at top of that list of all-time Premier League goal scorers. And I think he's certainly capable of it. But
if for example, if Daniel Levy's being who we know Daniel Levy is and what he's like, and him and Harry Kane will probably come to a compromise that he can go as long as it's somewhere outside the Premier League. And I think Harry Kane won't like that. I think he wants to break records in the Premier League. I think he'll prefer a move to Manchester. But if he thinks, you know what, I can do a year or two with Poch at PSG and potentially get them their first Champions League, and then after that get a move to someone like Manchester City or Manchester United, then that may be Harry Kane's best route. So it's going to be interesting. And to be honest, fair play to Harry Kane, because I think he's a world-class striker. He's your typical number 9. He's very, very good at it. We've seen this season as well. He's good when he can come deeper as well. And under Mourinho, I thought he did that false 9 role really, really well. So, you know, for me, I think he needs to win.
I'm getting you a T-shirt with Jack for me, Gil wrote on it. 100%.
for me.
I love it. Everyone needs a catchphrase. So you're going to be Jack for me, Gil, from now on. You've come back from the 6-0, Gil. We've changed that one for you. It's interesting, and I agree with what Jack says. I think Harry Kane has proved this year any doubters, if he had any, completely wrong, because he has upped his game. He's dropped deep. He's been unselfish. He's done a lot of things that I'd ever see Harry Kane do, to be honest with you. And he really is the finished article. Here's another question, gents. Let me know what you think about this one. So, would you be against selling Mane in order to afford a player such as Sancho? I think we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on, but
yeah, Ginger AJ missed the start of this podcast, didn't he?
I think though it's probably the only way we are going to do the signing that we're speaking about, whether it be whoever it be, a top bracket signing.
I said this at the start of the pod. I think I could get my head around selling Mane for 70 million, say, if we gave Dortmund an extra 10 and we got Sancho back, a young, exciting British talent who's only getting better. So, yeah, I'd be. I know there'd be an element of risk in that, given that Mane is a proven performer. But I'd be okay with that.
And you, Jack, would you be happy enough to move Sadio on if it was to bring in a Sancho or, you know, another attacking young talent?
No, he's not had a great season, but I think people getting on you know, Sadio Mane's back is
I'm not on his back. I just think.
No, I understand. I get your point, Steve. You know, I think it's a good point. I know he's reaching the peak of his career now, but you know, for me, we should be looking to add into our squad, and you know, the front three have been such good assets for me that I don't think we should be looking at moving any on this window. And you know, potentially if Sadio Mane has another underwhelming season next year, or we get to this time next summer and we've got more options attacking wise, and we can move Sadio Mane on, then maybe yeah. But for me, we should be looking to add into our attacking options rather than selling players. For me, yeah.
Steve, do we win the league next season? I think this is the possible question to answer personally, because we don't know what business us or others are going to do yet. But I think we'll be closer.
I mean, who on earth knows after this season? You know, this season has just been such a mess for everyone. What the hell? Yeah. Why not? I think. Look, there's no reason. Like Jack said earlier on, our first 11 is as good as any first 11 in the Premier League. Probably our 13 or 14 is as good as any in the Premier League. You know, so why not? You know, with a fair win behind us, with a decent injury record, you know, which we obviously haven't had this season. Yeah, why not?
What do you think, Jack? Are we going to win the league next year?
Yeah, we're doing the quadruple next year, mate. You know, I said before, didn't I, that new home shirt is the one we're doing the quadruple in. So, and I think it's, for example, if City sign Harry Kane, it's going to be incredibly difficult. You know, that he would literally be the missing part of the jigsaw for them. But you know, it's going to be a difficult season because our rivals are going to strengthen massively, and we're going to need to be on top of our game. But can we? Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be, as I said, it's going to be a difficult task, but I absolutely believe that we're capable of doing so. Yeah.
I think we're capable of doing it, definitely, but it is going to be a very. I mean, I think the top four will be more boxed off next year than it is this year, to be honest with you. I think Leicester will have a heck of a job trying to get into that top four. If Chelsea go out and do what they look like they're going to do, and City do what they're going to do, United will, probably be spurred on a bit this summer as well, and then hopefully we do our thing. Go on, Jack.
I think that top four that we've seen obviously last season, it looks like it's going to be similar this season, certainly in terms of the same four clubs. I think those four for the next couple of years are consistently going to be the top four, just in different numerical order. But with that being said, if there's one of those teams that I think will slip up, it will be Manchester United. And why is that? Because of the coach they've got, because of the manager. And, I can see the wheels of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's falling off pretty soon.
I think one question I want to ask you both before we finish up is about Harvey Elliott. And what do you think the situation is going to be with him, Steve, next season? Is he going to stay in Liverpool? Or, again, with the thoughts of what my Europa League thoughts on a few weeks ago, I thought, perfect opportunity to get him minutes, get him some good experience at European level. But, if we're in the Champions League, are those opportunities starting to become a little bit more sporadic?
I think we take the Phil Foden approach with Harvey Elliott. They could have loaned him out 2-3 years ago, couldn't they? And you'd have got, a season in the Championship, a season at the bottom of the Premier League. Well, actually, they thought he was better off training week in, week out with these really top players. And now we're seeing what a player he is. And I think, if he's got the right attitude to take, 10 or 15 games, a few substitute appearances here and there, I think he's going to be a top player, a really, really, really top player. And I don't see, our squad being good enough to warrant, loaning him out again. I'd love to see him stick around this year. Yeah, I'd love to see him stay around.
And for you, Jack, do you think he'll stay? Do you think he'll get minutes, or do you think he'll go back out on loan?
It's an interesting one. I'd love to see him stick around. Harvey Elliott, I really, really rate him. Top young talent. But I also think it's important that he is getting consistent minutes next season. And for me, if he's not going to get that at Liverpool, I don't want to see him stuck in the under-23s. I want to see him on loan to another Premier League club.
What about the Phil Foden kind of way of doing things, though? I mean, that's worked out well for him, hasn't it? It might have been frustrating for a year or two, only getting a few games here or there. But I think they've been vindicated in thinking that he was better off, staying where he was.
I mean, I put Phil Foden up there with Mbappe and Haaland. So, for me, I think you've got to remember Harvey Elliott is still only, 17, 18, and he's still got a long, long, long career ahead of him. And for me, the next step for him is either, game time here and there at Liverpool, or regular game time at a Premier League club lower down, because I think that at the moment is his level. He can get consistent game time in the Premier League, just not at us at this point in time. And you know what? I reckon he'll shine out on loan at a Premier League club, come back the year after, get minutes more frequently than he would this season, and then we go from there. But yeah, top player, and I'm really excited for the future of Harvey Elliott at Liverpool Football Club.
As am I. And again, Taki, any hints that Takumi Minamino has a future at Liverpool, Steve? Yeah, why not? Look, like I said, I don't think we're in a position where we need to be trimming the squad. He's a, is he gonna ever be a, first team regular? Possibly not, but is he good enough to be, come off the bench and make an impact? Definitely. So, yeah, why not? Yeah. I don't know. I'm really unsure on this one. I don't think he's done enough at Southampton to prove a point in any way. In a very similar setup and a similar system, the way Ralph Hasenhüttl likes a high press and a high work rate and a good output from his players. He's playing like wide right in a 4-4-2 the other day, wasn't he? I mean, that's not his position, is it? I'd have a little bit of James Ward-Prowse. Have you seen Gareth Crooks mentioning that he'd like to see James Ward-Prowse at Liverpool? Anything there for you, Jack? Would you take James Ward-Prowse? Would I take him? Probably not. I think he's a top player. Is he good enough? He's set pieces, you know that. But I think he is a similar
player to Trent, and for me, I wouldn't. With our relationship with Southampton, if we were going to get James Prowse, we would have done it. We would have done it a couple of seasons ago. But no, I do think he's a top player, but I think his level is Southampton, and I can't see him going to a top. If James Ward-Prowse went to a top club, it would be someone like Spurs. That would
but you said top club, Jack.
Oh, funny.
Not Europa Conference League FC. By the way, that would be the most Spurs thing ever, to go into the Europa Conference League and still not win it.
Yeah, it would.
It would be nuts. Look, gents, I think we'll call it a day. I don't think. Do you know what? I'm surprised that we never touched, anyone in the chat either touched on Danny Ings, on what may happen there, because is there a come home Danny show? I mean, we're talking about a centre forward here and a Premier League proven, gone through the season. Okay, it hasn't been injury free,
but good player.
Just the wrong time at Liverpool, it seemed like. I mean, everybody loved him. He seemed to be great in and around the dressing room. I think we all agree it was just really unfortunate what happened to him. And, he knows where the goal is. I mean, what would he cost?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I liked him. He seemed, I used to bump into him in Costa, like about 5 times in Costa Coffee.
Are you a magnet for Premier League footballers?
Mate, there's Liverpool players where I live, and it's a weird thing because it's not in Merseyside, and I think it's because they get outside the bubble of Merseyside a little bit, and Ings used to love it. I saw him like 2 or 3 times buy something disgustingly creamy and chocolatey in Costa.
Yeah, but when you're running 25 kilometers a day, you can get away with that.
I think he's a good player, though, isn't he? That wasn't really. I think he was one of the ones that we let go because of a sort of a fairness thing. I don't think it was. I think ideally we wouldn't have let him go.
Yeah, it was a great move from him as well. To be fair, I mean, I love Southampton as a club. I have to say, I really am fans of them. Look, gents, it's been a pleasure. I don't know how you're fixed on Sunday, but if you're around late in the evening and we've qualified for the Champions League, maybe we can jump on and do a bit of a celebration, because people are going to say to us, don't celebrate Champions League. I'm sorry. After the season we've had, I'll take anything at this point.
Mate, nobody's saying it's been a good season. If we get top 4, no one, nobody would claim it's been a good season. But has it been a good recovery from the point of 10 games ago? 100%.
And Mr. Trainspotting there, what about yourself? Live life, Jack.
I think we're top 4. We will get, I think we'll beat Crystal Palace quite comfortably at the weekend. I think the fans will make the difference at Anfield. And for me, then it's between Chelsea and Leicester for that other spot. I actually think we're going to finish 3rd.
Connor thinks the same. Yeah, he's been saying that to me for a few weeks. He thinks that Villa will cause a bit of an upset there.
I think that's got a draw written all over it, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, I'd love it. I'd love it actually if we got 3rd, Leicester got 4th, and Manchester City got beaten by Chelsea, and Chelsea found their way into the Champions League that way. That would I'll take that if that's on offer.
Yeah, why not?
I think we've managed to go long enough to get Jack into hangover mode. It's great. We've kept him on here long enough to hang. I've been in that position, Jack. I've been on plane journeys where by the time I got over there, the hangover had kicked in from the airport drinking beforehand.
I've been like that for a few hours, but no, it's.
Let's let him go, Craig. Let's let him go back to bed.
It's a good weekend.
We're out of the town.
I've got tea in a minute, and then I'm going out for a few more drinks. So that's my day today, and then tomorrow.
Good lad, get on it.
Drinks, and then I start work next week. So yeah, I'm just enjoying my last weekend of being a student.
Jack will be live on what's the app? What's that shitty pub chain you guys have in England?
Wetherspoons.
Yeah, he'll be live on the Wetherspoons app, letting people know his table number now on Instagram.
I did that earlier, and people were sending me mushy peas, they were sending me tomato juice. What else did I get? I got a lot of Sambuca shots. Yeah, it's a good thing. The Wetherspoons, that was a very good idea from Wetherspoons. So yeah, a lot of free drinks. So thank you to anyone that sent me them. Yeah,
thanks, guys. Thanks for sending Jack all that drink. Folks, it's been an absolute blast. We will hopefully be back. I'll be back on Sunday anyway for the game and the post-match show, and we may do a bit of an emergency pod. But look, as always, been great fun. Thank you to Jack. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to you guys. Take care and enjoy your weekends. Not as much as Jack, but enjoy it nonetheless.